Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing this 3D spider combined with this pumpkin look. I've wanted to do this 3D spider for so long and also wanted to do a separate pumpkin type look. So mum said, why don't you combine the two, and I love how it's turned out. So shout out to mum for that one. I will link everything down in the description below where I got my inspirations from, because I'm not the first person to do either of these looks. It is not easy. It did take me most of my Sunday, but we're gonna crack straight into it because I'm obsessed with it. Okay, gonna crack through this so quickly. We're gonna prime our skin, and then we're going to use this white pencil. Get a white pencil if you're doing any Halloween looks. It's literally gonna be your best friend. So I'm gonna map out my face and how I wanted the half face to be, and then I'm using two foundations. We're very excited about this. These are Maybelline 24-hour Super Stays. I'm using a lighter one on one half where we're putting, yeah, that's very light, on the spider side, and because I kind of wanted that to be a bit more like, I guess, washed out and pale, and then I'm using the more tanned side on, yeah, that's so tanned, on the pumpkin side. It looks ridiculous, but we're going to take it down to the neck as well, and make sure you use the right foundation. I accidentally used the wrong one, but blend that all down onto your neck as well. And I mean, I'm going to cover it with orange anyway, but it's quite nice to have a base. Then I'm going to be using some concealer just around my eyes, under my eyes, and all that jazz for where we're putting the spider on, because that's going to look like a fairly normal look apart from the spider coming out of your eye, hun. So I just wanted to touch up any bits that the sponge might have missed, make that line nice and sharp. And then we're going to set it all into place. This is a translucent powder, so it doesn't matter, has no pigment in it, so I can use it on both sides and it's basically fine. And then I'm going into this Makeup Revolution Special Effects palette, and I'm using the orange and a brush, and we're going to go and paint it all over the pumpkin side. I wanted them to be more pumpkin than spider, so that's why we've got pretty much most of my face is going to be a pumpkin, and I'm setting it into place and then putting some on my ear as well. I thought, you know, we've got to fully commit, but I didn't put much around my eye because you're going to have basically eyes blacked out. I will show you referenced images, or I will link reference videos down in the description. But we're going to black out the eye completely, and this, I'm just using a gel liner for this, and you can be a little bit messy, just go for it on this part, but when it comes to the edges you want to be careful and neaten it up a little bit. I started off with a point on there. I was trying to follow an image, like I said, I'll put it in for you, but then I wanted to round off some edges, change the shape up a little bit, and that's actually the beauty of using this face paint type makeup, because you can just touch it all up afterwards. It seems to work pretty alright. So once I've got the shape that I'm after, I'm just neatening it up, and then I'm just going to set that into place with a matte black. You can use any black you want, but as long as it is nice and dark and matte. Now we're going to go onto the nose. These noses are, I mean, they're kind of like the skull noses that you do, but I'm going to use a face paint for this because I thought that it would work probably a little bit better and just be a little bit more, I don't know, I guess easier to work with if it's a bit wetter for a face paint. So that's what I'm doing for the nose, carving it out. And I was surprised, I'm not going to lie, I haven't really had much luck with doing skulls and that kind of thing in the past, but the nose turned out quite well. And then I thought that was a good black, so I went back in and went over the eye. So now I'm mapping out the mouth and where I want the teeth to go. And again, like my original plan was I wanted to do like a skull pumpkin type thing, but I'm going for, obviously for this pumpkin look, I wanted to just put a little bit of a brown liquid lipstick on so the paint had something to stick to on my lips, if that makes sense. Don't know if it helped, but you know. But with these teeth, I'm rushing through it, but I just kind of had to go for it, really. As you can see, I wanted to leave this little bit in because I wanted to show you how much I kind of took bits off, touched them up, had another go. It's anyone's game. Have fun and don't be afraid to wipe it off and try again if you're not happy with it. It's better to be happy with it because you're going to be wearing it all night. And then I wanted to create a little bit more of a curve in my forehead so that it looked a bit more like it was that half skin, half face look. You're the ones that they do. Now we're going to take this orange and we're going to start to do the shading and the kind of make the pumpkin come to life. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm building up, basically starting off like you would with a transition shade if you were doing an eye look. It's going to be the same, and touching up in between as well. There is so much touching up in this, so just be prepared to touch up and build up and blend out. I mean, just like every single one of my looks really, but we were just building up the colour here, and then we're going back into the what kind of would have been the transition shade, using that to blend it all out as you would with an eye look, and then going into the Colourpop So Jaded palette, which I'm loving at the moment, and this is a slightly deeper, more of a reddy toned orange, and then going over that all again. You guessed it, we're blending it all out again. Just keep blending, just keep blending. And then I think I was going to go in with that one. It's a bit scary when you go for the darker colours, but using a finer little brush, just getting a little bit more detailed with it now. And make sure that on the cheeks and around the chin you go curved. You want to make sure it's a curved edge, because then that way it's going to make, or going to give that effect that your face is round and it's going to make you have that kind of pumpkin look. But on the forehead I wanted to make sure that the lines went up straight. It's kind of as it would on a pumpkin, you know, it would go around and then it would come to a point at the top, a semi point, you know. Just keep blending that out. Everything you do, blend it out. That's kind of what you've got to go with these looks. Then I went in with a black pencil. This is just any black pencil liner you can use to go over those lines again. And this is just adding definition, and the more you take your time with this and the more you build it up slowly, the better it's going to look. I wanted those on the top to be like a little point as well, and then you guessed it, we're gonna blend it out. The thing is, if you're not great at like precision, it is always handy just to give it a good old blend, because then it's meant to be blended and it's not meant to be super precise, you know? And then around the mouth, I wanted it to be super, super, super dark, but because of how long this took me, it did kind of start to get a bit shiny, and your girl's got oily skin, so it did start to shine through a little bit. But we're going to blend out that bit at the end of your smile, just to kind of, I guess, get that nice and blended. And then we're going to just add a little bit of shading and a little bit of depth in the teeth as well, and you know, keep on blending. And then we're going to highlight. I had already tried this on my chin, but I did a few more steps before I fully committed. So I took kind of like a shimmery, shiny orange and just highlighted in between all of those little areas, just to make sure that those pop and then they stand out. And of course, blend. And then I'm tightlining my top and bottom waterline, which is just really going to make your eyes be nice and dark and black. If you have any black contact lenses, this is a good time that you can use them. I don't, but if you did, then go for it. Touching up the lipstick, and then we're going onto the spider side. We gained an eyebrow somewhere along the way. I never seem to notice when it pops up, but it did somewhere. And then I am just contouring. I want to really, really exaggerate this contour and bronzer and just get that really nice and chiseled, because it's Halloween. We're going to be extra and we're going to exaggerate everything. So once I've got that nice and deep and nice and sharp, I'm going to then go into highlight, and I super, super, super highlighted, like more than I would usually highlight, because I was thinking if you've got the spider sat on your eye, you want to have that highlight underneath to kind of make it look even more like it's 3D. So it's kind of got a bit more depth on your face. Then we're going into the eyes. I mean, a similar look to what I've done before. Like a liquid gel liner all on the eye, and then tight lining top and bottom, and then just blending it all out. And then I'm just going to take a couple of transition shades to blend it out even more, and then deepen it up. And I kind of wanted to try and match the colour that we had on the pumpkin side, but I went back in with a clean brush as well with a little bit of a lighter colour, just to make the brow bone stand out a bit more, because I didn't want it to be too, basically I didn't want the black to come up too high, because that's not the focus is the actual spider. And then I topped up the gel liner, basically set it into place with a bit more of a black colour, the same one that we've used before. Highlighted that brow bone for the same reason, and then just made sure we had a nice deep crease and nice and warm. And then I blended out underneath, and then just, you know, kept blending. Okay, now we're going to go into the spider legs. The spider, if I did this again, I would do the spider first, because it was actually easier than I thought it was going to be, and then it means that the pumpkin side may have stood a bit more of a chance of not oiling off. But you see, so you've got the legs, you've got 2 going the same way here, and then 2 more going the other way. You'll see that I do change this, but I was going by a reference image, which again I will show you. I mapped them out with the white, and then went over them with a pencil, and then kind of smudged them out with the brush, and then use a liquid liner just to go over them all again. It's easier to build them up. Take it slow, because you don't want to go straight in with like black face paint and then do a mistake. So you get your confidence, you're getting the shape. Make sure that you put 3 little kind of grooves, I don't even know. Basically make sure there are 3 parts to the legs, because that's what spiders' legs look like. And then I'm taking a little bit of concealer just to neaten it up. And like I say, there was a lot of touching up, taking legs off, reapplying legs, changing angles and everything. And make sure you remember that there are 8 legs on a spider. Okay, so I'm taking a face paint and then deepening them up even more. Make sure that the legs blend into your eye makeup as well, because otherwise it'll look not so real. A good tip is to put these little hairs on the little joints, whatever you call them, the bends, because that'll make it look, again, even more realistic. Then I'm taking some white paint, and you want to highlight the corners. So wherever there is a little corner or a curve, that's where you want to highlight, because that is the highest point of the leg. So make sure you highlight those, and only those pretty much, because that's going to make it look even more realistic. Now for shadowing, so you want to basically join where the leg comes from your eye to the end of the leg, basically. So you want to have the shadow a little bit darker, closer to your eye, and then a little bit darker again, closer to the tip of the point. Because if you look at an actual shadow, it can help you if you want to actually put your hand on the, I don't know, a table, on the sofa or whatever, and you can see how the shadow goes. There's a darker shadow closer to your fingers, and then closer to basically the end of it. Now what I did here was I changed up the legs so that they were all in the same direction, as I was trying to explain earlier, and then I also took a little bit of a white paint, just went over the legs again because I wanted them to really stand out. I added lashes and some mascara on my bottom lashes. Oh, okay, so yeah, there's my little tester on the back of my hand. I don't know who this guy is, but anyway, I'm going to add the black line that separates the 2 sides of the face. I wanted to do this at the end just in case I had any bits that, I don't know, I didn't want to commit to that until right at the end, and I could clean it up and keep it nice and sharp. And then I took the little bit of one of the oranges that we'd used in the eye and just blended it, because I didn't want it to be too like a solid line. I wanted it to blend into the pumpkin side. Okay, and then obviously blending it out. making sure it's nice and blended. And then I took a little bit of this highlighter and just highlighted in the gaps between the shadow and the legs of the spider. Then I blotted. Kept having to blot my face because honestly it took so long that I kept having to charge my camera. Anyway, I'd also tried this little bit of ruched skin and I didn't think it looked that good in real life, but actually on camera it looked really good, but I took it off. But you can do that if you want because it does look sick. Okay, so now onto the neck. I took a bit more of that face paint onto the neck and then I started to just blend down this kind of shading for the, oh, we have a little jig here. I was listening to Little Mix, obviously. Building up the, I guess it kind of looks a bit like branches or whatever, but we're continuing the shape from the face, continuing that down onto the neck. I'm having a great time and just building it up. You can see what I'm doing. Make sure we're blending it out, and the more time you take with it, as I said with the face, and the more you blend it out and build it up, it is going to look better, it's going to look more realistic, and you're going to get a better effect. Blending and blending. Blah, 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 blending, and then deepening it up. There's quite a few stages to this. You can do as many or as little as you want, but I honestly feel like the slower you build it up, the better it's going to look. Then I was highlighting in between with that same shade that we use on our face. That brush was really handy actually because it was the perfect width to go in between each of my little neck things. And then anyway, built it up with the black and then again blended it out. And I took this pencil and I thought that I would go over them. And actually, for someone who doesn't have a steady hand doing this, it was pretty easy. I just kind of went for it, and that's the thing, you just got to go for it. Confidence is key. Then I thought I would add a few little, like, I guess veiny branch twig type things. This was a last minute whim that I was like, I'll have a go and do this. And actually it made it, like completely made it. So I'm really pleased with how these little strange twig things turned out. And I thought I would take it down further so that it kind of semi-blended out onto my shoulders and there wasn't like a distinct start and finish. These almost look like little veins, so that looks quite cool. Twiggy veins, nice. Then I went over them with a black paint just to really accentuate that, and then blended them out just so that, again, it kind of blended into nothing. And then took a little bit of this orangey sparkle glitter liner and then added a little bit extra, and then I did do some highlights in it as well using the same glittery shimmery orange. I set it into place. I don't know why, we weren't really going anywhere but there we are. That is the finished look. I hope you guys like it. I'm actually obsessed with how it turned out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I will leave links to everything, inspiration and all that jazz in the description down below. I hope you have a safe Halloween, and please send me any pictures if you do recreate it or anything like that. Please like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!